welcome to the Busted Knees and Pretty Trees podcast. We are back. We are glad you came. We are feeling good because we all have the day off, and we have a perfect guest to start the new season. And we're thankful for your time and those follows. Wink, wink. Much to be excited about. I'm Travis White, remotely here with Patty Richardson and Bradley Greer.
Hello.
And that kind of rhymed. That was
yeah,
pretty
it does.
slick.
Yeah, that was slick. Dude, you're a poet and don't even know
Didn't
it.
even know it.
That was my dad. My dad would have said that a lot. Hey, welcome everybody. This is going to be a great one, dude. I have the utmost confidence that this is going to be a wonderful day after Thanksgiving conversation that we get to have.
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking about these kind of all these little places that we've been visiting in Indiana and Michigan. And
Yeah.
I have this, you have put a wall map up of the U.S. and you put your little pins in it.
Yeah.
All the places you've visited. And I've always had one in my head. I've never actually put one up because I just can't find the perfect map. I like maps. Anyway, so I have pins in my head of all these cool places that I've been to. And ever since we started this podcast, we've just kind of been creeping out to these places you just don't know that are there. And now Michigan and Indiana are just getting perforated with pins. And it was just from the beginning, we've just been saying, just go outside your back door. There's plenty of stuff out there, walking distance and a short drive. You can find something very beautiful.
Mucho agreedo.
Yeah. So we have another one of those places today that we're going to be talking about right here in Indiana. And so our guest today just so happens to be the Stewardship and Land Management Director for LC Nature Park, a 200-plus acre nature preserve right yonder in Roanoke, Indiana, with a mission towards preservation and education. There's also large animals.
Our big thing is we have a herd of 27 bison and 24 elk.
Holy smokes.
Other way around. Sorry, 24 bison and 27 elk.
We won't hold that against you.
Thank you. It's the holiday. It's the day after Thanksgiving, guys.
Yeah.
And that there's Chloe, and I'm glad that she's ready to go.
Hey, would you another rhyme.
Yes.
Can you
and
believe
actually,
that?
I realized I've through the email, my name's pronounced Chloe, so that you do say the E at the end.
Dang.
Yes,
okay, can you do your last name too? Because I don't want to mess that one up either.
Oh, yes. So my full name is Chloe Smith-Guitard.
Yes,
Okay.
I was right.
Yes.
You were.
Hot damn.
I'm surprised you went with Chloe. I've never heard of anyone.
Usually, it's the other, like, people will pronounce my name correctly, but they spell it in just ass backwards ways.
I bet.
So, no, you're good. There was actually a guy that I worked with at the park several years ago who was like, in his 80s, and he absolutely knew how my name was pronounced, but he called me Coey for, I think, like the 2 years that I worked with him. And I kind of just accepted it because I was like, okay, he knows, but he's a little bit deaf. It's fine. But then he started introducing me to other people like that. And I was like, okay, I have to like maybe continue to like have a working relationship with these other people. So like we need to maybe nip this in the bud.
We gotta clear some things up here.
Yeah,
Yes,
this
we
is
need to
my
clarify.
name. This is how you spell it and how you say it. Boom.
Well,
Take
thank you
that.
so much for coming on the show. Like, this is right down our alley.
Yeah.
And so kind of how we kick it off with a new guest is, everything aside, like your work and what you do there, what gets you outside? What's that thing at your core that makes you want to be out there and want to, preserve it?
Yeah. So I grew up in this area. Like, I'm a born and bred, like, Fort Wayne person, but where the park is located is actually kind of what used to be my backyard as a kid, which is like just a strange, coincidence as far as like how I ended up working there. But I, think I really fell in love with hiking and backpacking as really in my like late teens and early 20s. I was definitely more of an English and theater kid growing up. And then I was trying to, I guess, figure out what to do with myself after I graduated high school. And I had AmeriCorps, rest in power, recommended to me by my mom, and I got stationed out in the Southwest District for them and was doing nonprofit work out there. And I got put on a lot of projects with NPS and Forest Service doing sustainable trail maintenance for them. And it was kind of, one, it was my first time going anywhere with like mountains or like heavy terrain or anything like that, and doing any sort of like backpacking, because that was also not something that my parents were super interested in growing up. And so that was my exposure to it. I fell in love with both that kind of work, and also just it was very relaxing and meditative to me to go and explore that. And then when I did that on and off for a few years, and I developed a kind of a greater appreciation for, I guess, more of like smaller things. When I came back, I think everybody really loves, the mountains and doing like going to like the highest peak or surfing like the most badass like rapids and things like that. And I realized that I had a much deeper interest in more of like the local ecology and what people were doing around here.
Wow.
So it ended up, that was kind of how I got in with the park.
Yeah. Well, way to go, Mom.
A fellow backpacker, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I heard that.
Oh,
nice.
Give the signal, Brad. Is that? Oh no, it's this.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And we were trying to come up with a hand signal for
Backpacker
fellow
signal.
backpackers.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
the one I
cool.
came up with.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Spread
I feel
it
like that's how I look
Spread it far and
sometimes.
wide.
Yeah, I heard it. Hell yeah, that's cool. Any what's your favorite backpacking trail you've gone on? Curious.
I spent a week up at Isle Royal.
Oh
up
my
in the
God.
UP.
I cannot believe you just said that one.
It
We
was
look great for you.
We
it
were
was
supposed to do that this
incredible.
year.
It was one of the best vacations I've ever taken, and I really lucked out with the weather too. So it was I went in, I think, September for about a week.
Hey, that's good to know.
Yeah,
We were trying to get up there this year, earlier on in the fall, like early fall, late summer. And it just did not work out. It just felt like it was a pain in the butt to even plan to get there.
Yeah.
Did you take the plane or a boat?
I took the NPS ferry.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So,
How did you feel like that worked out, like in time wise? Were you good with your campsites? Did you
Mhm.
Yeah, everything worked out.
Yeah, everything worked out. It's everything up there is, it's first come, first serve. And so there were, I think, some of the more popular campsites you'd end up sharing with other people as they'd show up. Everybody would like grab one, and then as more and more people filter in, you just have people come up and be like, hey, do you mind if I, camp with you tonight? And
Right.
usually it worked out pretty well. And so I feel like I had a nice mix of just hanging out with people, and everybody's on vacation, so everybody's in a good mood, and so having like that kind of camaraderie with total strangers was really, really enjoyable for me. And then I also had the opportunity to have 3 or 4 days where I was kind of the only one at my campsite, or there was only like 1 or 2 other people that would say hi, but otherwise kind of left each other alone. So it was a really good mix.
Damn, that's cool. Brad and Travis, I'm curious, being the out of bubble backpackers, the guys that just want to do it alone, does that excite you that you would be sharing a campsite with others, or are you guys like questioning it?
I don't want to do it alone.
Yeah. Okay.
Would you sleep in like the same, because they have the little shelters there, right?
Yeah. I didn't have to share I think there were 2 campsites that I stayed at where that had shelters, and there was one where I stayed in the shelter, and then like the other person who showed up was like, don't worry about it, like I'm just gonna set up my tent and it's fine. And then the other shelter I had the whole place to myself, so it wasn't an issue. I think like the first night that I was there was probably the busiest, because it was one of those campsites that's like closest to the ferry drop off, and so that's usually everybody's first stop.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there was like maybe like 1 or 2 other groups of people. It's pretty easy for me to kind of squeeze myself in wherever, because I was hiking solo. And so everybody's like, oh, it's just you. Like, yeah, come on.
Man.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Awesome.
So
To
We
answer
gotta
your
get up there,
question,
fellas.
Patty, I
Yeah.
would be totally okay with anybody as long as they were just chill
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they didn't murder each other. Didn't that happen?
That is a big deal.
yeah.
Recently?
That happened this year.
I don't think I died.
Yeah.
It was
No, I
fine.
think some-
I had a moose get way too close to me.
Ah.
Ooh.
Which made me a bit nervous, but that was, I think, probably the only time I felt uncomfortable.
Wasn't there an investigation on Isle Royale?
Yeah, there was
about?
a murder-suicide this year.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, was there really? Oh, no.
Yeah.
And I think it was a father-son, too, which
Oh,
is
geez.
kind of depressing.
I know.
That's horrible.
Before we get that's the boy. I don't wanna dive
That
into
sounds like that's part of the
story.
news.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was that was right before we were about to go on,
yeah,
and
it was
that
when we were
did. We
planning
were
on
like,
it.
oh boy, that we're gonna be staying at that campsite if we.
Yeah, there was
make
no.
this.
It was one of those that was like right in the middle, and there really wasn't any other sites close to it, so we
Yeah.
would have had to have stayed at that site.
Rock on.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yikes. Hey, and there's the News Panther. Thank God. What a perfect time, because that would have been a really bummer story to get into. Lay it on us, B-Rat. I am excited, as always, for this News Panther story.
All right, so remember last week we talked about how they used trail cameras they noticed that a female black rhino kind of disappeared for a couple days, and they were using trail cameras basically to track her movements and then see the baby that was born.
Yep.
So this story involves taking that to the next level. The University of Missouri scientists are using drones and AI to get more accurate counts of waterfowl.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like right now, how it works is staff members of the Missouri Department of Conservation, which is like Fish and Game. Every state calls it something different. They conduct weekly surveys of waterfowl to help understand how many birds there are. And then that helps inform their management strategies.
Right.
So they do it either by physically going out and counting birds and species, or they can rent a plane to fly around in and take photos, and then also use their binoculars to count birds. So very time consuming,
Do they use
usually not very
Merlin?
accurate.
Data?
They didn't say. It almost seems like it would make perfect sense to pair this with the Cornell laboratory.
Yeah.
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 But they didn't say. I know like part of it said they used some chat GPT, but I couldn't tell if that's what they were using to ID the birds or not. So this started around 8 years ago when the department started talking about using drones. And then Professor Yi Shang, who's worked with the department for over 15 years on like various technology projects like this, came up with a way to fly drones over waterfowl, take high-res images, and then use AI software. And they basically will take all the images, merge it into one huge mosaic, and then start counting birds.
Damn.
Pretty cool.
That is pretty damn cool.
And like not only does it count the number of birds, it's the type of birds, and then identifies the habitat that the birds are in.
Let's go.
Like,
And-
how high is this thing going?
Yeah.
The drones?
What kind of images? How big are the images?
Oh, I do have one I can pull up real quick. That's kind of like a little snapshot.
Are they just like little dots?
Pretty much. But I mean, sometimes it's impressive even what Merlin can
That's true.
Point out.
ID, because I get some pretty crappy photos.
Oh,
and
geez.
still
Oh,
IDs.
wow.
So that's a huge flock.
There's
And
a
then so it
green
does like,
rectangle around each one.
yeah. Yeah, so there's probably over 100 different birds in the image we're looking at. If you Google this story, you'll see it, and we'll probably post it on social media.
Oh yeah, I definitely will.
So it'll do a green box if it's confident in the ID. It'll do a yellow box if it's like, that may be a false positive, and a red box if it's a false negative prediction.
That robot
Wow.
is
Really
confident.
cool. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
that's
pretty
awesome.
high up though.
Because that's part of the problem with people going in is they're also usually scaring the birds away and making
Right.
them burn calories that they wouldn't normally burn.
Another
so-
benefit of drone usage.
Yeah. I've seen them do something very similar with like the drones that have the infrared cameras on. And then, it's basically just, oh, well, there's a red dot there. And then they can switch it back to like a normal, viewpoint and take a snapshot of it and figure out what it is.
I kept thinking, like, I feel like that would be a logical thing to add to it is infrared, because then you see, okay, there's something there, then go to image, take a photo, ID what it is, then you can compare the two.
This is where I want to say I want technology to go. I want to see less cat farting video.
This for.
Yeah, for right. I mean, this is the benefit of it, where it's less terrifying. But I hear these stories, and I'm like, yeah, AI or yeah, technology, and then every other day of my life, I'm like, oh boy, it is nerve-wracking.
No, we need to stop using it to steal from artists.
Yeah, exactly.
Slop on Etsy.
Did you say cat farting video, Patrick?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something that like people.
I feel like I could probably see that like on a YouTube short or something. That sounds about right.
I don't know. I'm not very techie, but that was the first thing that always comes to my mind. Yeah. So somebody showed me a video and I was like, what the fuck?
So Reed Vigat, who works for the conservation department, it seemed like they were overly talking about how excited everybody is in the conservation department, because it's almost like this is a case where AI could take people's jobs, you know? But he keeps talking about how everyone's super excited because I think it takes like way more man hours than your typical 40 hours a week to do these surveys. But the people are still going to be operating the drones and like running the program. So they're still doing something. But I like to think there's probably a couple of dudes that are like, man, I like sitting out there counting birds. I feel like I would. Like,
so would I.
Grad student work is what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, get the youngins in there sitting around.
Sounds like cheaper
birds.
labor just to have people do it.
So to kind of prove it out,
come full circle. We're back.
God damn it! Shit.
So this seemed like they didn't say this. It seemed like this was the initial trial. They surveyed 10 sites around the state. And they found that, so they surveyed sites, the AI did its thing, and then people went back and like verified what the AI was doing to see how accurate it was. And when they're in water or like a clear, stark, contrasting background, it's over 95% accurate.
Woo.
But when they're in habitats that are kind of concealing, like brush or tall grass, it drops to over 80% accurate, which is still pretty accurate. Because like I think one of the big things it does is it doesn't double count. Like since it takes like a snapshot of a whole area, it's easier to not double count something, which I imagine would be pretty hard for a person sitting there counting.
Yeah, you just be like, "There's one duck. There's two ducks." It reminds me of Twister, where they see the same cow. You know, you gotta be really good.
Well, and that's what when I went to Hawk Watch, that's what I was thinking. Like, how do they know they're not counting the same birds?
You think there's just people that have been doing it for so long that they're just like eagle eyes or hawk eyes?
I mean, I don't know how duck hunters ID ducks when they're flying, because even in my binoculars, it's hard to ID a duck when they're flying. Man. I don't know. Like, unless they're a really unique color, it's hard.
This is tangentially related, but to that point, I think if you get used to seeing something like through that viewpoint, I think you just get really, really good at it. When we had, so going back to that like infrared drone, we earlier this year were trying to find an elk, actually, and we hired a guy who had one of those drones that had that, and he was basically flying it all over the property to look for it. And you find like 10 million deer, but also just like going through on like that infrared setting, he was able to determine kind of what everything was just based on like the size and general shape of those heat signatures. There was one that was like this weird, like mid-sized kind of blob shape, and he was flying over a forested area. And we're like, oh, like, what do you think that is? And he's like, you know what? I guess it's probably like a raccoon in a hollow tree. And we're like, that's very specific, man. I don't know. Yeah. And so he like lowered the drone, and then he switched it to the camera. And it was like a hollow tree, and you could just see like this little raccoon head staring out and just like looking terrified.
Yeah, what is going on?
And I was like, holy shit. Like,
that's like done it before.
Doing this for a while, yeah. So
yeah, that
I wonder
makes sense.
You get used to seeing kind of the same stuff over and over again, or you just get used to knowing what to look for.
Yeah, I could see bird people seeing those like minor differences in color, like on the same species of bird.
It's the difference between going out with like a life like Chad, where he's just been bird and he's just like, boom, that's what that is. Boom, that's what that is. And you're like, what the fuck? I'm still catching up from the first thing you said that was. But I'm curious as to if that guy has, like, we're saying that the more you do it, the more you just become knowledgeable. So at that point, like, that guy's seen a shitload of hollow trees with a shitload of raccoons.
Yes.
Like, to be that specific. Nah, that's just a raccoon in a tree.
That's just a raccoon in a tree.
Like, damn, man. Good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with this drone program, they haven't fully implemented the new process yet because it is a government agency. So I think they're going through the process of setting up a program to start doing this permanently.
Nice.
So pretty cool.
Let's go. And this is where?
That's awesome.
Missouri. Yeah. Show me state.
The show me state.
Hey, show me these birds.
Yeah, show me them birds.
That's what I'm talking about.
That makes me want to go to Missouri and get all my waterfowl for my life list. I wonder if it's that extravagant that would be.
Just like most other survey data and like collaring, they don't share it with the general public.
Why? Because they don't want the general public to show up and start going ham. Yeah, that makes sense. That was kind of like the moose, right? Where they don't really share that information.
Yeah, and the wolves, because people will go kill them.
Ugh, gross. God dang it. Well, that's an awesome story, B-Rad. I cool. Appreciate that one. Thank you very much for
You're
that.
welcome.
But we got a lot to get into today, and we have Chloe. Did we say Chloe? Chloe. Okay, that's how I would have said it. I'm sorry. But now I'm questioning everything I'm ever going to say. We have Chloe, and I want to get into all those badass questions and learn about everything LC Nature Park goes through and what she goes through. So what do you guys say we pop off and get into this?
Get to ripping.
Okay. All right, guys, we are back, and as I've said numerous times, I am just more than excited about this interview. So I want to kick it off with just a nice little let's get to know you, some of your background, Chloe. Can you tell us and our listeners a little bit about your background, and then what led you to stewardship and land management work specifically with LC Nature Park? I know we went into a little bit about what keeps you bringing out there, but I want to hear it more specifically to the nature park itself.
Yeah, sure. So I ended up at the park in kind of a roundabout way. As I had mentioned earlier, I kind of discovered my just love of being outside and more of like the ecology of things, like in my free time, like as coming through, working outside with like AmeriCorps and having a lot of opportunities to go like hiking, backpacking, camping. Out there, and then kind of bringing that love back home with me. I had been doing a lot of work with them and with a couple other conservation corps on and off for several years. Like mostly out west. I was based out of Denver and Flagstaff, Arizona, mostly. So it was predominantly Southwest United States. Okay. And then I ended up getting a little bit, I guess, burnt out. You don't really make any money. You're basically doing like volunteer work. They pay you in food and lodging, but I decided I was, at the end of my contract, I came back home to visit family and figure out what I wanted to do next. And that was in winter of 2019. And I don't know if you guys remember a funny little thing that happened early spring of 2020, that the entire country shut down.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, I need to figure out what to do now. And so I ended up, I think I worked in restaurants for a little bit, but I ended up, I knew that there was this nature preserve getting, that was about to open up kind of in my parents' backyard, basically. And so I reaced out to their executive director at the time then. And I was like, hey, do you need somebody to cut honeysuckle for you or, do invasives management?
Yeah.
And so I got an interview with him. I remember like looking at myself like in the mirror, like before I went over, and I was like, don't be too desperate for this job. You gotta play it cool.
Play it cool.
And so that's how I ended up getting my job with the park. And so I think I started out I think I just, cut honeysuckle and autumn olive for about like the first 6 months. And then they realized that there was no getting rid of me. And so they,
that's like the wax on, wax off.
That's
like,
right. And you're like, oh man, this person's
we'll
determined.
see how dedicated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, then I started, feeding, I started feeding the animals and working with them. They require a little bit more care, like in the winter, just, some more hands-on stuff. And then, I think I just kept saying yes to, pretty much everything that they wanted me to do. And I really wanted to learn everything. And this job ended up being kind of equal parts, actual like restoration and doing invasive management and like seeding and preparation and stuff like that. But it was also a lot of like learning about equipment maintenance and just building things, making sure like stuff works the first time. And so I just wanted to be as useful as humanly possible. And so I just kind of, I say worked my way up. Up until like last year, there were only like 4 staff members here on and off. So now we're at, I think, 8 or 9.
That's how most all the times we talk with anybody in the conservation realm, it's always quite surprising to me the amount of, or the lack of full-time employees that are paid employees. It's mostly volunteer driven. And that is just one of the more uplifting things that I hear from these conversations. It's just the amount of people that give a shit enough that they'll donate their time and energy. And when you say that, they paid you in lodging and food, I imagine that they also paid you. I mean, a lot of what that pay looks like is expertise and learning and education, being there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're getting a lot of that.
That was what. The branch of AmeriCorps that I worked with was the National Civilian Community Corps, and that was their whole thing. Is they catered to, I think it was like 18 to 25-year-olds, and then some of the other. There was like a bigger age range with other like conservation corps. But it is that you build these tangible skills to get into the conservation line of work and meet people in Forest Service or other government positions that'll help you, put together your USA Jobs resume and stuff like that.
Right.
So, and they also at that time gave you scholarship money to put towards it, which was a huge draw for me at the time, because I wasn't until I started working for the park was when I got really confident that, this is what I want to do with my time. And so I did go back to school. So right now I'm working on getting my undergrad in biology and anthropology.
Go get it. Nice.
We're working on it.
When your title is Stewardship and Land Management Director for LC Nature Park is what I understand. So for somebody like myself, or maybe some of our listeners, could you explain a little bit about what that title is and what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. I feel like my day-to-day changes all the time. It's kind of, what, our projects kind of vary year to year, but, a lot of big picture, what we do is we've acquired a lot of these parcels of land that were, for the most part, former like agricultural land. And we are trying to convert a lot of that back to what this area would have looked like pre-European colonization.
Yep.
Or pre-European contact. So a lot of it we're working on getting restored back to tallgrass prairie. And so a lot of what I do is just kind of the logistics of figuring out when is, a good time for us to like start seeding. What kind of prep do we need to do on this ground before we need to do this? Is there like a lot of trash around here that we need to pick up? And then how do we maintain it in the coming years? Because the other thing, like a big part of what we do is invasive species management. And that's something that's never quite over. But, we have limited staff time. We have limited funds for, all of these things. And so it's kind of picking and choosing what is the best place for our money and our time to go at any given point. So, a lot of what I do in the winter is kind of researching that and trying to streamline our restoration plan for the future. We also, we have our bison and elk, and making sure that they are, healthy, content, observing what their impact is on the prairie. Do we have, too many animals? Do we need to introduce new genetics? Like, are we seeing, repeat issues like in certain individuals or in certain herds? What can we do to address that? And then also like, spend a lot of time fixing fences and trying to stop problems before they happen. If we see like a dead tree, we have to take that out.
Farmers, really, naturalist farmers, just, maintaining that land.
Yeah, that's a really good description of what we do. I think that we are, our herds are not production herds per se, but I would say that we are probably closer to being a farm than a zoo. So we try to, so our animals have access to about 90 acres of enclosure that we're actually working on, hopefully expanding by another 60 or 70 acres within the next couple years. But they have access to kind of that whole area. And so making sure that they have like a sustainable impact on it is something that we also consider pretty heavily. So
the bison herd specifically, that seems to be, and it's whenever I hear anybody comment on the LC Nature Park, it is very much directed to the bison herd. Mm-hmm. So being such a steward of the land and getting that back to where it needs to be, where you guys want it to be pre-European colonization, what is kind of the challenge of balancing keeping the bison herd, the elk herds healthy, but also maintaining your ecological goals for the land? Yeah,
that's something that we think about, I feel like, almost every day.
I bet.
Having the animals on the land does present its own challenges as far as being able to do stuff to that land, because we can effectively split our enclosure in half. It has east and west ends. And so if we have to do work in either of those areas, if it's something that we're going to be spending a lot of time in there, or if we have, if we need to do any sort of chemical treatment like herbicide or anything, we'll move them over for, a designated period of time in order to do that work. But the biggest challenges with that is that, like you said, the biggest draw for people is the animals a lot of the time. And so it's hard if you have to like move the animals into an area where people aren't going to see them for like a couple weeks. But that's kind of what needs to happen, because we need to be able to treat sycamore or multiflora rose or things like that. And then, obviously, we read all our herbicide labels and make sure everything's like, pasture safe for the most part. But I like to give our prairies a week or two grace period, depending on what the requirements are for any sort of chemical that we like put on there. So it's kind of about figuring out when the timing for all of that is going to work, and when we can, for stuff that's a little less invasive, manpower wise, like if we're pulling garlic mustard, it's pretty easy because you can just pull it out of the ground. We'll like get volunteers to help with that and work with it. So that's one of the big, I guess, manpower considerations as far as like our impact on it. We also do observe this, like, especially like you said, the bison have a huge impact on the prairie, and especially if you have too many of them. And so, I said that we're not a production herd, but we do still, we'll, eat a bison every so often. So we'll eat it, or we'll sell a few of them like once a year to, keep our numbers at a sustainable level.
Right.
Yeah. Just to
cool.
To maintain the health
sell
of
them
our
to
prairie.
Joseph Dequy.
Joseph Dequy.
Joseph Dequy.
Yeah, no, they do the Wagyu.
They do the Wagyu.
Yeah, they've never reached out to us for a bison.
That'd be interesting.
Never say never. No, actually, there are a few bison producers here locally that we know pretty well. There's actually there's a National Bison Association that's all over the United States, but they will they'll have regional conferences a couple times a year. And so we'll meet with them and kind of talk shop.
Are you familiar with the Nature Conservancy?
Oh, yeah.
Kankakee Sands?
Yeah, Kankakee and Nachusa. Yeah, we talked a little bit about them. They're probably the closest to kind of what we do. So
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
it's very similar, your projects.
Yeah. I value their opinion on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we had a chance to talk with Trevor Edmondson out there. And it sounds pretty close to what you guys are doing. It's very cool that there's two kind of groups going at the same projects in two different areas.
Yeah.
That's another one of those just heartwarming feelings that I get that, hey, there's people out there just crushing it, man.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things, and this I guess kind of goes into one of the other questions I think you were gonna ask
lay
me,
it on us.
But one of the things that I really like about doing conservation work here is the community for it. I don't think a lot of people associate Indiana with that kind of mentality, but I think also because of that, you get a niche and obsessive group of nerds who all kind of do that. And with land trusts or with preserves or things like that, a lot of them are part of what's called the Indiana Land Protection Alliance, or ILPA. And which is how I've met a lot of Nature Conservancy people, because they're part of it. But that's our other opportunity, a handful of times out of the year to all get together and talk shop and build a lot lot of that community.
Oh, that'd be so fun to be a fly on that wall and just listen to everybody going ham.
It's a fun time. They do a winter gathering that's kind of everyone. In all aspects of, what it takes to manage a land trust. So you have people who are more on the administrative and fundraising side. You have people who are in legislation. You have people who are, land stewards and stuff like that. And then they host, workshops, a handful of workshops throughout the year. So you can, they'll offer a grass and sedge ID class, or they'll do chainsaw safety training and stuff like that. So they try to, but I love ILPA, and they put together a lot of really cool professional development and networking opportunities that are, I think, they're invaluable.
Damn right. That sounds awesome. How does one podcast get invited to that meeting? That's
Ooh, I could probably hook you up with Andrea. She's pretty.
All of it. I want to know how to identify these things. I really just want to sit in the back and just learn what just hear what these conversations are between two different groups. I mean, as close as LC Nature Park and the Nature Conservancy, more specifically Kankakee Sands, are, I imagine that there's differences in land, differences in the communities, things along those lines that you guys have to deal with. So to hear those conversations of how LC or Kankakee Sands got over such hurdles and where LC Nature Park is just now getting into those hurdles, to hear those conversations would be quite interesting for me.
Yeah.
Are they going to star in our first documentary? Studio documentary.
Yeah, we're looking for actors now. We're booking.
Let's do it.
It's not a documentary if there's actors, dude.
Oh shit! Sorry, I don't know. I'm going George Lucas on this.
Yeah, well, that's when you need a reenactor.
Yeah, there it is.
We just have somebody dress up like you.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, Chloe. Now just pull that weed over there. That's great.
Right.
Wonderful.
Do it.
Yeah.
No.
Patrick, go pet that bison.
Done.
Don't do that.
Thing is I'm already petting the bison. No. Please, listener, do not pet the bison. Good
Do
Lord.
not pet the bison.
We've seen enough of that on the stupid internet.
Travis, maybe Elpa has a hole digging seminar.
Yeah.
Travis loves
rock
digging
hounding,
Now we're
dude.
talking.
So, taking just a bit of a step back away from the herds and getting more into the land management side of this, you did. So, what I've kind of in my own research, my DYORing, you guys started with the 200 acres in 2022, expanded to 100 or another 106 acres. So, giving you just over 300 acres. And what I find to be interesting about that is within that 300 acres, you guys have not only your tall grasses, your prairies, but you also have wetlands and forests. So I feel, go ahead.
I want to piggyback on the end of your question.
Sure, go ahead. Oh, wait, did I get to a question? You go ahead.
Yeah, get to it.
So like this is it's on like the Little River goes through it, right? Is it like one continuous wetland from Eagle Marsh to LC Nature?
Oh,
No, it is not.
Okay.
So we have little spots of wetland, and we have areas that want to be wetland. That's
When I grow up, I want to be wetland.
I want to be a wetland. That's
I want to be
Well,
really biodiverse.
yeah. So that 100 acres that you were talking about that we acquired, I think about 20 or so of it that's in the floodplain of the Little River, like would make a really beautiful wetland, and that's what I seeded it into. I think last year. And nothing is, stuff like that takes a lot of, it takes time for those root systems to establish. So we haven't really seen like a whole lot there yet. But I mean, it's also been corn and soybeans for years. So when I say it wants to be a wetland, like we can take steps towards making it one. But there's also, properties between us and like, I think the closest Little River wetlands property to us would be Arrowhead Marsh and Arrowhead Prairie. So I think, if you, knocked all those houses down and, graded it or, reseeded it into native, then like maybe you'd get like a straight stretch of wetland.
Let's do it. Knock the houses
as
down.
all of that land and all that property is sitting right now, it's not one contiguous.
When you're seeding an area for trying to turn it back into a wetland, is there certain stuff you're planning to try to revitalize the soil, like put more nitrogen into the soil or?
Yes, we do. So we do a lot of that with prescribed burning. I guess as far as like, we don't really do any sort of fertilizing or anything like that. Usually what we'll do is we'll do what's called winter seeding. So we'll distribute everything just on the soil surface in between between December and February. And that seed mix will usually have like a cover crop that goes atop it, and that does more to like stabilize the soil and prevent erosion, because it's usually stuff that's not super aggressive, but it is fairly fast growing, so that'll help with that. But there have been like recommendations for putting on certain blends of like oats or rye. I was talking to a guy from USDA who recommended a certain species of sunflower or peas or something like that to do that same thing. That I really don't know enough about that specifically to say how successful or not it would be, but that's kind of the other thing. That's the other nice thing about talking shop with a lot of people with different degrees of experience and specialties, is that like you're always learning stuff, and everybody has it's nice hearing like, if you have done something, it's nice hearing similar stories from a lot of those people, especially people who have like years more experience than me, going like, oh yeah, like I did this, that, and the other, and this worked great. And also just hearing, getting a lot of ideas for like, oh, like I kind of want to try this next and see what happens.
Yeah.
Trevor from Kankakee said something like, what was it, like it's restoration's the future, not conservation, because pretty much everything that can be conserved is. So more and more people are learning how to restore back to native.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Keep figuring out better and better ways to do it faster and faster. So,
yeah,
it's super.
that's I feel like a lot of what my job is every year. I've been at the park 5 years now, and only just got, kind of control of being able to make those plans within the past, like, 2.5 years. And so, there's stuff that I did when I started out. I'm like, oh, like this wasn't necessarily like bad, but like it was inefficient.
Right.
And so that's when you figure out how to, like, do other stuff or do it in a different way and just kind of see what works. So as long as you're not, like, we're just like, well, I'm not gonna dump a bunch of like reed canary grass seeds like out in the field and be like, good luck, everybody. We need to fill in these patches. So,
well, you don't know what you don't know. So you just got to try. It's trial and error, I imagine.
Oh,
and as long as somebody's out there working their asses off and, sometimes making those mistakes and learning from those mistakes, then I imagine that it's all moving in the right direction, that, there's going to be missteps along the way. But the point is that you're out there trying your ass off.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's all anyone can do.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's, that's a lot of the conversations I've had with other people is, like figuring out how to give stuff the best chance at success, because you're really playing a game of, okay, I want these plants to grow and I don't want these plants to grow. And so how do I like arrange these puzzle pieces to make this happen? And so you're playing around with the competitiveness of different plants. And so that's why, we had done a little bit of prescribed burning with one of our sister organizations. And something that, I think a lot goes into figuring out how to make a prescribed burn like safe but also effective. And a lot of that depends on like what time of year you burn. And that's going to depend on, okay, well, I want to get rid of these plants, or I want to encourage grasses, or I want to encourage more forbs, more, broadleaf plants and wildflowers. And that's going to dictate what time of year you choose to burn.
Damn. Yeah. There's a boatload of science that goes into this. Ecological science or biological science.
I like a job with a lot of troubleshooting.
It is a job with a lot of troubleshooting, but
that is awesome.
Yeah. Good
for you.
I guess as far as like how to manage like balancing all of those things.
Yeah,
the short answer to that question, after I just give the very long one, was that you do it with a lot of help. I learned so much from my predecessor, like the guy that hired me was a botanist, and he like taught me a ton about a lot of native plant species in this area and gave me like a really good introduction into like how I should be thinking about the land and about, plants and like kind of the timetable they exist on in this part of the year, and also kind of opened that door to the rest of this community. And then from there, you just meet people doing the same or different stuff in your field, and you just got to be brave enough to talk to them or say, hey, I'm doing this. Like, what are you guys doing? Or how did you tackle this? So, I was talking about, you asked like what we talk about at the ILPA meetings. It's like, oh, well, how are you guys, like, what time of year are you guys spraying reed canary grass? Like we're doing this, like what, like mixing ratios are you using for this? Oh, we're using like glyphosate. Oh, we're using,
oh, that's so fun.
Lecithin and stuff
Every
like that.
conversation would just be a rabbit hole together.
It gets very granular. It's fun.
I'm talk to that lady, get us in there. We want to know. We want the inside scoop.
Learning, there's so much to learn and everything. And I noticed that you guys had the Mills Education Center. Is that right?
Yes.
What do you guys use that center for?
So it's a lot of different stuff. Right now it's been pretty like open. We have a couple different like display items that we have out. We have like a touch table with like furs and bones and stuff for kids to interact with. And then we have some donated pieces like arrowheads and stone tools from different indigenous tribes in this area that you can look at.
I'm down with artifacts.
Yeah, it's very cool. So right now, like it kind of depends on the year. We have a summer camp that we have kids out for a lot. We do, a bunch of different programs throughout the year. We've been restructuring how we do access to the park. So we have like more open days on the weekends. So right now, like Saturday is the day that you can like kind of come out whenever. And then we have like a set schedule of like hikes and safari bus tours and stuff that are going out.
Oh.
So that, you get like a guided tour. Because our one of our biggest hurdles is that because we have large animals on the property, it's like a liability issue to have people out every day doing like self-guided hikes. We have like a handful of days a year where like we allow that, but opening up that accessibility is something that we've been looking at very closely, going into next year. So we're still kind of working on that. But as far as like what we use the center for now, it's the camps, it's like various programs. We'll rent it out to like for like corporate meetings, provided that they align with our mission.
Yeah.
Or if they are, a like significant like donor for us, because we're entirely like donation and grant funded.
Nice. Yes. So. Awesome. Where do you see your education programs and outreach programs kind of fitting into your stewardship mentality?
I think it's really I think it's important to teach people that there's more in Indiana than corn and soybeans. And I say that as somebody who believed that for a lot of my childhood and then had to unlearn that.
Same here.
And so
ditto. Yeah, I would agree with you.
I think having, a place for, kids and like, adults to come out and kind of learn about exactly like what is in this part of the country and what Indiana, like what native Indiana can look like if you let it be that thing. We have like just an amazing amount of biodiversity here. We have lots of like really, beautiful and really, interesting ecosystems, like kind of all over the place. You just have to, I feel like there's almost, I hate to say like a barrier to entry, but I do think I feel almost like you have to have somebody who can show you that and open that door for you.
Yeah. I definitely agree. One of the things when we're talking about what you guys do, as we were preparing for this episode, talking with other people like in the community that I work with, the bison, right? The bison is the thing that always comes up because I think it's shocking to a lot of people that bison, it was here. It should be here, and this is part of the natural habitat of that animal. So what I'm curious about is in terms of the public perception, where do you see that? Does that differ from like how the public understands bison being on that property? Does that differ from the reality of them being a keystone grazer and ecological engineer? Like there's more to the animal than just being here.
I'm trying to think of like what like the misconception of them would be versus just not understanding the full breadth of what they do for the environment.
I don't think there's so much of a misconception.
So I feel like maybe the biggest thing is kind of what you see with people trying to interact with them, like at Yellowstone, where they seem like these big, gentle, docile creatures. And in fact, they really don't want you near them.
Right.
There's the ones the herd that I've worked with for 5 years, they don't want me near them.
Right. Right.
Unless I have a bucket of corn, and even then sometimes they change their minds.
They're like, put it down and walk away.
Yeah. So I think, the biggest thing is that people, they recognize how massive they are, but not always how powerful and potentially dangerous they are.
Right,
I also think that they have, I think that they are more intelligent than, say, cows. They're observing their social dynamics has been really cool and way more complex than I think I gave it credit for when I first started working with them.
Mm-hmm.
But that might, as far as misconceptions go, that's probably the most obvious ones off the top of my head. And then, yeah, they do so much as far as with their behavior, as far as, planting seeds and, eating, invasive grasses, and sometimes they eat all your native grasses because they really like the taste of those. Creating wallows.
Would you say that having bison on the property is a benefit more than just bringing people out there and showing them we have these animals, but for the ecological understanding of what you guys are doing and your restoration of the land? Yeah, I know. Yeah. Right. So there is a much larger dynamic that these bison play, being the keystone grazer, that, I would guess they play a pretty integral part in the restoration of the land.
They do. Yes. That's something that it's pretty easy for us to point out on tours, actually, because there's a section of our prairie that we like to point to that's inside the enclosure and one that's outside the enclosure. And you'll find that inside the enclosure, where our bison and elk are allowed to roam, we have much greater biodiversity. We have a higher concentration of wildflowers because bison tend to find they're grass exclusive grazers,
right,
for the most part. And so they'll, eat down a lot of those grasses. Big blue stem is a native grass here, but it's also fairly aggressive and tends to outcompete a lot of stuff. And so we have this area that is really, really dense with all of these spring and late summer wildflowers. Then outside of the enclosure, we have this little stretch of prairie that's maybe an acre and a half. That's just all big blue stem. And then maybe a couple other more hardy broadleaf plants. But they have a very significant impact.
I always think it's great when we can introduce, because I understand the land management side of that and planting seeds and making sure you're doing your controlled burns in an accurate time and all that. But then to introduce native animals into that land and say, hey, do your job, man. You know what I mean? That's work. And those animals are just doing it by nature. And I think that's just incredible that humans have not only learned how to plant seeds and do those sorts of things, but then also work with the native species of animals that have been on that land for an eternity, and just let them go.
And they'll get on that land and just, change their environment the way, that they do. And so then you adapt to that. And then there's, something else and you adapt to that.
Exactly. No, they saved me a lot of time in that regard. And like I was talking about earlier, they present their own challenges. But my goal for a lot of things is that I want a diverse and sustainable prairie, and I want it to be a sustainable enclosure for the animals. Yeah. And so I think that they do a lot of that themselves. So it would take me a lot of hours and many thousands of dollars to keep fighting back, grasses that I don't want in an area, when really I could just have bison come and eat it. And they just do that for free, basically. So
now, do the elk play into this sort of thing as well? Is that why you guys introduced elk into this land?
Yeah, the elk have less of an impact on the prairies than the bison do. They are what are called browsers. So they'll eat a lot of grass, but they'll also eat like the soft shoots of woody plants. And they're,
Right.
they're a little less exclusive in what they eat. But I've noticed like similar stuff. I've noticed that they have more of an impact on our browse line. So like a lot of the understory, like plants and things that exist in like the forested portions of their enclosure, they've impacted. So right now we have probably like a few too many elk and bison. So we need to we're working on downsizing both herds a little bit because our browse line for both of them is more sparse than we like. You still have, some of those nice understory plants. We have a lot of great white trillium. We have wild ginger, spice bush, stuff like that we really like to see.
What do you base your starting population that you want, or your end goal population of bison and elk? Is it acreage? Is it the kind of plants, like how much open area you have, or?
Yeah, it's based on all of those things. I think without going in and doing like a really thorough like bio inventory of that whole property, which is something that I would like to do in the future. There are grants that support that kind of thing. Yeah, so it's basically knowing like how many plants and what kind of plant you have in an area.
Sounds like futuristic.
Yeah. But I think beyond that, it's assessing acreage, it's soil quality, it's what kind of, plants, you have, or what areas that are like show like a lot that are like very productive. So, if you have, 10 acres that are really lush and like generate like a lot of grasses, that's going to give you more forage and a lot of the bison or elk to exist than an area with poor soil quality that's like really patchy and has a lot of like kind of like crappy or weedy plants that are like really short. So
do you get that with like newer, say you purchased a newer lot of farmland?
Mm-hmm.
And like, are those everything kind of starts coming up in patches, or do you plan out like where you want stuff? And
you plan out like in broad strokes where I want things. Farmland, at least the farmland that I've done, first phase 1 like restoration on so far, has worked pretty well, or it's at least as far as how old that restoration is, it's kind of where I would expect it to be. And so we're starting to see, it's still like patchy, like it's fully like vegetated, but it's still pretty patchy in the grasses that I actually planted.
There.
And then, just as time goes and you do maintenance on it with invasive species removal or burning, that stuff starts to fill in more and more ideally. But ag land for the most part, unless, the previous owners did something like some really horrible mismanaging with it, like if they dumped chemicals or something on it, which fortunately we haven't experienced here. It's pretty easy to work with, especially like, because usually it's like the ground is fairly flat, it's fairly, smooth, and it's easy to seed. And if you have like, if you start seeding into like soybean stubble, that's, helps fix a lot of like the nitrogen in that soil and helps those plants get a good head start. Yeah. So, seeding into corn or soybean field is, I have no issue with it. I really like it, just going straight in. It can get a little more difficult if you like leave it fallow for a year, if you just want to see what comes up. And then at that stage, you just, do a controlled burn, or, I think it depends on what you want to do with your property.
Do you get corn and soybean plants randomly popping up?
In one of my fields I have, I've seen some soybeans like pop up on the edge by like one of our trails, and I've seen like wheat from a neighboring field across the street pop up, which is that kind of stuff I'm a little less worried about, because it's at least so far, it hasn't caused me a problem. And it's again in that like kind of early stage where I'm not like, oh man, like this stuff's like taking over this area. So we're going to be burning part of this prairie in this spring and kind of see what comes up. I'm expecting a lot of big blue stem and Indian grass, which are both fairly aggressive native species. So I'm just expecting to kind of them to fill in. And we're going to that field in particular, we're planning on using to make our own hay. And so if we have like some wheat stalks in there, it's not the end of the world.
So in terms, back to just your visitors and your visitor center, I'm curious because it just seems like a common occurrence through our conversations where it's very much like you guys have a real passion for wanting to restore this land, wanting to see the land back to its native habitat or just the way it would be. But I'm really looking just for your highlight. What's your favorite way to kind of get visitors engaged into the process? Where have you seen a lot more of that benefit of like, this is this, and what's the outcome? What's your favorite kind of way of doing that?
I mean, for me, it's not a huge part of my job, but I really like giving tours to people. I like driving people around the property and getting to show them, all of the stuff that made me really passionate and really excited. So part of that is one that I like geeking out about stuff. Getting to give people, or even getting to give them a more up close like experience with the animals. Not that it should be obviously too up close and personal, but an example of this is we for part of like our Saturday like open house or like open hikes kind of thing, we had a themed hike about the bison and elk, and we were talking about rut and antler growth. And so I led that hike, and I had a bucket of corn that we used for basically just to get the animals to like move from like point A to point B, because they're very food motivated, and you can't force a 2,000-pound animal to do anything.
So
that's what we do for Patrick too.
That's right. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. They gave me a bucket of burritos, and now I'm here.
Exactly. So you on this hike, we'd go out to wherever I like last saw our bison or elk, and like set out a little line of corn so that they would like come up a bit closer to the fence, and you still keep people at a safe distance, but then you give people an opportunity to like have this like kind of more personal but safe interaction with these animals, and like see them up close in a way they normally wouldn't be able to. So that's really exciting. We had our fall open house, which is National Bison Day, at the beginning it was at the beginning of November, and we restructured the whole thing to be like basically an Oregon Trail. Like we kind of gamified it, so you would have like this little bingo card, and you'd spin a wheel for like, oh, like you ran into like a predator, like what do you do? And you'd spin a wheel, and then you'd stamp like, oh, like I ran away, or oh, I defended myself, and
that's
like this
fun.
is what happened. And
sounds
so there
like
would be several of
Busted's
those
game night.
Yeah, so there would be like several of those stations along the way on top of on that trail. It would be like a kind of a timeline of what this area looked like. So there was, we worked with the Miamia tribe and had some people from the tribe out and kind of talk about, their like history on the land. Further down the trail, you'd get to, European contact. We had some people from the old fort out who had some like reenactors set up and talk about like what life was like at that time period. And then even further out was like my station, which was like what modern restoration looks like.
Oh,
and so
that's cool.
You'd give people a lot of that historical context, and then you'd also kind of gamify it, which ended up being really popular. And you'd get a sticker at the end that said, I survived the LC trail, or I did not survive
did not
the
get
LC
dysentery.
trail. Yeah,
I did not die of
dysentery. So I thought that was very clever. That was our executive director's idea to put all that together. So I guess getting people engaged in that way has been kind of fun. And, you know, I always like seeing the summer camp kids. We try to put together a lot of kind of structured and unstructured nature time for them, which I think is important.
I'm going to brag a little bit.
Please.
And say that we just did a podcast with the old Ford. It was freaking awesome.
Oh, yeah. They're cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Very true.
I
do have to imagine that with all the work that you guys put into this, and I imagine that in some respects, unless you're in a meeting with other people in your field, that it's kind of a thankless gig, that you're out there busting ass, you're sweating, you're unsure as to what's coming up. There's only a very small group of people that we've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of, but it is a very small kind of niche environment to be in. So to have the public come out and enjoy the environment, to enjoy the process, to learn a little bit more, and then to leave there with a sticker or a smile on their face, that it's got to be a pretty damn good feeling for you guys over at LC Nature Park to have that experience, to see those kids brighten up and to touch the antlers and see those elk or bison from, you know, a safe distance. There's always something, you know, everything you do is very plugged into what you're into, but to have that engagement from the public has got to be a good feeling, right?
Yeah, it's extremely, you know, it makes, you know, I get a lot of personal satisfaction with what I do regardless, because it's what I like, but it doesn't really mean much if you're not, I guess, encouraging other people to, like change their frame of mind about, or at least like expand what they know about how ecology works in this area, or just about, you know, history or restoration or animals or whatever you end up finding, you know, whatever a person ends up being passionate about. I think that that's incredible. And I say that as somebody who was kind of like aimless for a long time until, again, I had that door opened for me, and was able to, you know, I had the opportunity to figure that out. So, yeah, I think that there's an unbelievable value in that. So good. You don't always know what that thing is going to be for a person. And so I think going like, you need to feel this exact same way that I do, or you need to care about this thing in this very specific way, I think is like the wrong way to go about it. But I guess at least providing a space for people to interact with it in whatever way is meaningful to them is, I think that's priceless.
Yeah, damn right. I agree. So we don't want to keep you a whole hell of a lot longer. We know that this is the day after Thanksgiving, and we gave you a kind of an estimated time, but I do have two more questions to kind of lead out of it. And this is more just your view of the future of LC Nature Park. So looking 10 to 20 years into the future, what's your vision for the park's landscape and then its role in regional conservation?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Thanks. I worked on that.
You're welcome. It's something that has kind of been on the forefront of our minds, like, I mean, short term within the next, 5 years or so, but also further down the road, 20, 30 years, and what the area is going to look like. We just acquired, as far as like official like park property, we still have about 300 acres, but we just acquired, or at least like access to another like 150 acres of farmland. Like this happened quite recently.
Huh?
Yeah, so we're at about
you guys
450
go nuts
acres.
in the office when you
when
that
you get that
announcement
email back,
comes out.
Land.
High fiving.
Whoa. Well,
so
we don't own it outright. We own like the home, like the farmstead, which is about 17 acres. And then the, because like 100 plus acres of farmland is still a lot of money. And so we're leasing it from the original owners and then subleasing it to a farmer, to continue to work on. But, so we've been doing a lot of cleanup on that to turn that into our new stewardship center and have that be like kind of the maintenance area. And I think, trying to figure out what else we want to do with it. But I think that as far as what the park is going to look like. It's about as big as it can be while still being like a contiguous piece of property. Kind of more long-term goals. We'd like to expand the enclosure out and give more access to our bison and elk, and then have other kind of little outpost areas for people to come, have more self-guided hiking trails. That wetland that I was talking about earlier, we'd like to, we talked about putting in a boardwalk and having it be like a waterfowl, like observation area for people. So, we have a programming committee that's always talking about new ways for people to, interact with the park. The big thing for us right now is that we're trying to figure out how can we increase access for people. That's our big hurdle right now. And so
do you hear that, Brad?
Yeah. Waterfowl observation area.
Waterfowl observation.
Yeah. I don't have a timeline for this yet, but this is like what we're dreaming of.
Hey, you give Brad a timeline, he'll go out and build it.
There we go. All right.
It always seems like a very common thing as well, where it is about the accessibility. It's about getting people out there, no matter what shape, size, color, creed, whatever you are. You need to go out there, because the more people that get a chance to walk through it, to experience what you guys are doing, the more. I mean, you made you alluded to that you guys are all voluntary, all donation based. So I imagine that a huge part of getting those donations secured is getting people out there to see the amazing work that's already been done, and then hear the future of what you guys want to do and why they should donate to whatever you guys happen to have going on that moment.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a large part of what our executive director puts a lot of her time into, as well as our development director. So they pull me onto stuff if they want me to talk about more specifics on like what we're doing, or like if we had a grant fund a specific project, I can talk about that. But we always joke that there's two kinds of stewardship that happen here, and we have to specify, because I consider stewardship like land management, and then there's also like donor stewardship, which is what like our fundraising person does. And so whenever my boss talks about like, we're doing like this stewardship thing, we're like, which stewardship are you doing?
Right.
But yeah, a huge part of our mission at LC is that we believe that nature should be accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the projects that we want to do are to make that happen. And so that's another, kind of hurdle, a worthy hurdle, but it's a hurdle that comes with expansion. It's like, okay, we want to make sure that everyone, regardless of, ability or knowledge, can come out here and like get value from it. How do we do this, and how do we make this like a realistic thing?
Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. So
what gives you hope in terms of the future of land stewardship? What gives you hope for the future? What keeps Chloe going into the future, and not just at LC Nature Park, but more broadly across the Midwest? What's that thing that kind of motivates you? Where do you find at the end of the day, you can kind of rest your head on the old pillow and say, man, I feel good.
Yeah. I think it's, being, reaching out and hanging with the community, both the community of people who are already in this line of work, who are really passionate about it. That's always really fun and exciting. Especially because if you're just out in a field all day, it can be like, man, I am literally the only one out here.
Yeah.
Or like I've talked to the same 3 people for like the past week.
Or talk to the same buffalo all day.
And so, I like it when I have the opportunity to meet people and have those kind of connections or educational moments with people who come and visit the park, and seeing more specifically like what they are interested in. And and the obvious thing is I like it when I get to do that with with the kids, with field trips or with the summer camp kids that are out, because my favorite age range is like that kind of 8 to 12-year-old thing where they are starting to get like really curious. They have like very specific interests or really, really passionate, and they haven't quite learned to be self-conscious about things yet. So I find that they always ask like really great questions, and they're really excited. And so getting to tap into that is really, really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, I got one of my nephews hooked on rocks over Thanksgiving.
Ooh, okay.
And
got another rock hound in the
starting
fam.
to get to that age, so that excites me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
For sure. And just, I mean, kind of getting to do that out in my personal time is really fun. My friends always joke, or not joke, but they like, oh man, like you have like this like crazy awesome job. And I do. I am probably have like I have my dream job, but I think I'm so used to it at this point that I'm like, I sometimes forget that it is like really, really unique. And so getting to give my friends or people that I encounter just like out in my day to day, like in my personal life, and getting to talk to them and engage with them about it is really exciting too. And finding out kind of what their relationship is with nature and with this area.
And that's what gives me hope. Cause like throughout my life, I have been affected by very enthusiastic people that love what they do, and they make what they do very exciting when they talk about it. And just, I remember in grade school, those teachers that were just super stoked about science, and that made me super stoked about it. And I have carried it on ever since. And that's exactly why I'm here today, because I find that stuff very interesting.
Yep. Well, Chloe, the way we kind of like to get out of this is I always want to give our guests a little bit of a moment to express to our listeners, to future generations, anybody, kind of a moment of hope, a moment of statement that you want to give to get people out to LC Nature Park, get people outside, whatever it might be. But I just want to open up the floor to you as just give you the moment to get anything off your chest you'd like to get off.
Sorry, now
you're good.
My dog is awake.
Hey, this is perfect.
And wants
perfect
to
timing,
play.
dog.
Exactly. I think that it's I think it's never too late to discover a new thing to be passionate about, and there are an infinite number of things in this world to learn, and you can go down a rabbit hole with any of them. So I am always going to encourage people to try and find something that they really love about the environment and the natural world, especially here in the Midwest, where that kind of thing is seen as like non-existent, or it's taken for granted. Like it's here. And there are so many really cool and interesting ways that you can interact with it. You just have to look for it and be mindful, and you'll find, whether you do it like in solitude, or whether you find a community of people to share that with. There's, I think, always something. There's always like value to be gained, and like a new thing to learn, which is kind of what keeps me going. Is I like knowing that there are always more things in the world that I don't know, and having the opportunity to discover them, or to, have a new and interesting take on something that I thought I knew is really exciting for me.
Find your sense of curiosity.
Yeah, I think, stay curious. So
now, one last one for you. For anybody that's curious, any one of our listeners that's curious about donating, going out to LC Nature Park, can you direct our listeners to your website? Any other place they can find you?
Yeah, so it is, we're on I believe all social media. It's just LC Nature Park. And then our website is pretty straightforward. It's lcnaturepark.org. And there you can find information on scheduling a tour. It tells you what our open hours are, as well as like what programs we have coming up. There's a nice little calendar that'll show you, months in advance.
Yep.
As far as, and then, there's a donation link or, information about membership that offers you some cool stuff as well. So it's worth checking out.
It is. And your website is very straightforward. I did appreciate that about your guys' stuff. It was boom, 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 boom. It wasn't, I'm not a techie person, and it was very easy for me to navigate. So wonderful.
Our executive director will be thrilled to hear that, because she just redid our whole website this year.
You tell her she's crushing it from the Busted Bees podcast.
I will.
That's
also,
in Roanoke, Indiana.
Yeah.
Which is about 20 minutes southwest of Fort Wayne. And it's a very interesting little town.
It is.
Roanoke.
Yeah, Roanoke's cute.
When I first moved to Fort Wayne, Roanoke was where I was trying to move to, because I just thought it was the neat, like, especially around this time, it's so wintry and very small town kind of. Just
Roanoke's
cozy.
Adorable.
Yeah, it is adorable. We will also be posting the website and any other information about LC Nature Park on our website and also on all of our socials. So any listener that's curious about maybe diving in a little bit further or doing what you can do, you can follow us at the website, bustedpretty.com, or on Instagram or Blue Sky, Busted Pretty at Blue Sky. So make sure you check us out. Make sure you get on those websites and do what you can for LC Nature Park, because Lord have mercy, we want them to keep on going so we can all just have fun outside.
Yes.
Is there anything else, fellers?
Look at this. My geode. Crack this big geode.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It is beautiful. We'll have to post
Got the other half.
Nice. Look at that. It connects.
It was awesome.
We'll post a photo of those on our Blue Sky and Insta as well. That's going to be awesome. Travi, I know every listener out there is just geared up to hear about that, and also your rock hounding journeys, your adventures.
Yes.
But if there's nothing more, I think this is a perfect time to get out of here. Chloe, just amazing inspiration. I cannot wait to go out there, take my family. It's gonna be awesome, and hopefully we can see more of you in the future.
Yep,
yeah,
we'll see you out there for sure.
Let me know whenever you guys end up coming out, and I'd love to say hi in person.
Well, hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here, guys.
Yep, thank you so much. Thanks, listeners, and keep on sauntering.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Peace and love.